Whittier School is believed to be the oldest school in continuous operation in southern Colorado. It was founded back in 1862, actually a decade before the organization of School District 11 in 1872. And it was established in Colorado City under the provisions of the 1961 First Territorial Legislature. It was the first school in the Pikes Peak region. In 1862, when it was founded, it was established in a frame building, which of course no longer exists, probably like a house or something, and then probably one other house before 1873, when it went to the old courthouse in Colorado City. And it was in the old courthouse for quite a little while, and in 1897, while at the courthouse, by District 1, this was School District 1 at that time, it was named the Whittier School. So the name dates back to 1897. And I don't know the exact year that it moved into the old city, the first city hall in Colorado City, and the main building before the present building, the one that's now the Dodge and Engineering Company, is and beautifully remodeled. And Mrs. Seibel's description of that building, she said in her account, A History of the Colorado Springs Schools, the building included 4 rooms, the city jail, and the fire department. As soon as the building was finished, they didn't really use it as a city hall very long. The city fathers reasoned it had been built in the wrong location completely because it wasn't close to the center of town. The police officials realized that the jail was too far away from the 33 saloons on Colorado Avenue, and the prisoners had to be transported by wagon. So they gave up on the building and allowed the Whittier School to take it over. Mrs. Seibel reports that the lower grades were on the first floor and the upper grades were on the second floor. The Whittier School that opened in 1901, the present building, had only 8 classrooms without the additions. Mrs. Seibel talks about the best grade of pressed brick was used in this new building, and the finest system of heating and ventilating obtainable was installed that still heats the building. William A. Love sold the lots to the school board for $3,600, and the building cost $20,000 to erect. The additions came along in 1948 and 1952 when Mr. Dick Ragsdale was the principal there. And of course the addition on the west side added the activity room, the big gym, and on the east side, a little later, the office and some more classrooms. So
it was still in construction for the most part, and there were piles of material around in various places.
Well, it was a beautiful school because it had been built in 1901, and it was practically new, and we all just loved the school. And it had pretty grounds. We had grass and trees all around it, and the iron fence, and the bushes, and the woodbine was on the building, and we thought it was really nice.
Whittier was a fine school, a little 8-room school, built just like they build all schools in, sort of square and 2-story. Principal's office was always on the 2nd floor. Not that any of us wanted to visit there, of course, but
in those days, they had the girls' side and the boys' side. The boys' side was on the west and the girls' was on the east, and they had double doors and a porch and some concrete steps coming out of each double door. And the sidewalk circled around and came down to the drinking fountain. It sat outside, and they kept the water running all the time so it didn't freeze up. It didn't have a turn handle, turn it off and on. And it was a coal-fired furnace, And I can remember the teachers and the kids would stand on the big heat register that was in the hallway on the first floor as you went in.
I don't remember too much, but it seemed to me that we were busy pretty much all of the time.
Well, we were taught reading and writing, arithmetic, spelling, and we had a teacher that came and taught us music. We took Palmer method writing in school, and I took drawing, and then we had grammar and English, literature. We studied the Roman and Greek gods. We had sewing and cooking for the girls in the 5th and 6th grade, and the boys had manual training. And we really had a good rounded course when we came out of the 8th grade.
In the basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, and one thing that I always remember in writing, penmanship, I guess we'd call it. Like we had the Palmer method, and we would practice that every day, and then we'd make whole sheets and we'd lay a penny on the back of our hand, and you were supposed to write like this, and not, if that came off, well, you were using the wrong approach, you see. That applied even if you were left-handed. So we all became pretty good penmanship experts, so to speak.
We had, in our social studies, once in a while we would go up 29th Street, and Boulder was the last street up, which is now Uintah. But that used to be Boulder Platte and Boulder, and then it was the hills. And we'd go up and dig yucca roots and boil them down to make soap like the Indians used to use, because they called it soapweed. And it was known as soapweed, but we'd do things like that. And
I loved teachers all but the one that thought I was the worst child and worst girl in Colorado City.
What did you do to make her think that? To make her
I was laughing, apparently. I can't remember now just what it was that she objected to, but I have a habit almost of laughing if I'm pleased and joking with people. And she told me that I was the worst girl in Colorado City.
And so you went home to your mom?
I went home.
Uh-huh.
And
were you upset?
I was heartbroken.
Was there a young boy who had who was quite taken by you in the 3rd grade?
Yes.
And
he said, "Don't cry, Emily. If she ever says anything like that again, she'll have me to settle with."
Well, that was nice of him.
And of course, that was comforting to me.
Yeah.
We all loved our teachers. I didn't want to leave the 1st grade. I thought so much of my teacher, Miss Salmon. And they were all single ladies. They wouldn't hire married ladies to teach school in those days. And the teachers were always nice, and we were taught to respect our teachers. That was one thing. And if we got in trouble in school, we had bigger trouble at home, so we knew that.
We liked our teachers so well, and at least I had that feeling that in the 1st grade through the 6th or 7th that your teachers were very close to you. And to me, a teacher was just the greatest thing. Anything a teacher told me I was going to do, I mean, that was the way it was done. You wouldn't think of talking back or causing them any problems. Oh, there was always, of course, a few students that caused some problems, no matter where they would be. But and I remember them all as ladies unmarried, and I think that was true in those days. Most of the school teachers were that I had were between the age of, well, I guess, 30 and 50, and to me they were sort of second mothers, you know, and I think they were to most children. The worst thing that could happen to you, of course, was to be sent to the principal's office. That was like going to jail for 30 days, you know.
Teachers were stern, and there were some who were more stern than others, and it's strange, but in those years, when kids spoke of Old Lady Ryan, that wasn't a good term to use for a teacher, because the others knew exactly what they were referring to. And but they taught. I'm amazed at when I can remember when I learned how to read, and I can remember when I was in third grade arithmetic, and Miss DeShazo saying, "You're ready for sixth grade arithmetic," because she really knew how to teach kids.
The game that we had at recess was very, I liked it very much, and that was 1, 2, button my shoe, 3, 4, open the door, 5, 6, pick up sticks, 7, 8, lay them straight, 9, 10, a good fat hen, and why they put the hen in there more than I know. Jump rope, I think, was the big thing. And the girls jumped rope too, because I like to think that I stood up pretty well with the boys in jumping.
Oh, the boys they played on the west side, and the girls played over on the east side. And in the spring, the girls would play jacks, and the boys would be over on the west side playing marbles. And there would be girls with their balls and jacks playing from the steps clear down to the entrance into the school on the sidewalk. And we'd play hopscotch, and in the winter, we would play fox and geese. We'd make a big ring, and then we would generally, the boys and girls all play together. And the minute the janitor would come out and ring the bell, we'd all line up and go back in for the rest of our classes.
Yeah, I think we had a recess morning and afternoon. Yes, we all headed for what we call the playground, and in the case of the boys, and there were very few girls that came into the as I recall, the baseball and softball games and so forth. We usually would play work-up, I think it was called. You know, you'd all go out, and then if you hit a fly ball and it was caught, well, then everybody moved up, you know, to the next position, and it seemed like, at least when the weather was nice, that we always played some form of either softball or hardball.
When we played softball, there was a few girls that played softball, and I can remember one girl that she was far better athlete than most boys. When she socked that old ball, it went rolling down the field and maybe across 29th Street.
He later sent me a little note with little squares enclosed in with it that said, if you will marry me was one.
Oh my, third grade.
And it had different
What about the poem? If your love for me?
pardon.
The poem about the ribbons.
Oh yes.
Can you remember?
If you
If your love for me.
if your love for me is permanent,
No.
that wouldn't be.
Is true.
Is true, send me back my bowl of blue. And if for me your love is
Dead. Is dead.
good, send me my bowl of red. And if
That was. Did you laugh like that when you read that?
I think I had a feeling of disgust.
Oh,
I didn't think it was very
proper.
proper.
Well, I think I have lots of favorite memories. The people that we made friends with and were friends all our lives.
I usually carried a little lunch to Whittier because it was just a little too much to walk back and forth. And I remember right across the street there was a grocery store, like we used to have so many neighborhood grocery stores owned by mom and pop operation. And my folks were certainly not well off and give me about a nickel or at the most a dime and at noon so I could go over to the grocery store and buy myself something special. Well, for a nickel you could go over and you get a sack of candy, you know, that it'd last you the rest of the day.
Well, one thing that I can remember special was there was a girl that I danced with for the PTA. Miss Bunner taught us the mazurka and I don't know what all. By the way, it really, dancing never took because I never knew how to dance. If you didn't do it on the basketball floor, well, I didn't participate too much, but I did play a lot of basketball. That was before you had to be 6'8" to qualify. But we danced some dance, I'll say the mazurka, for the PTA, and I can always remember that. That was kind of something special.
All I can say is that my memories of Whittier are fond memories. And the teachers were always excellent teachers.
Well, I don't know much about Whittier School today, only I still think it is a very good school. I've known the women that have taught over there, and I know they're very good teachers. And I think that, and the children that has gone to Whittier School have really made good for themselves and all turned out to be real nice people.